Going into Record of Ragnarok Round 9, Apollo was kind of viewed as not that important or someone not a lot of people were really hyped for. This comes down to a lot of people being over the Greek gods fighting, his design not really being that appealing, and most importantly the matchup itself, Apollo vs Leonidas, a fight no one really predicted. As such, the anticipation and pretty much hype for it wasn't really there like many other possible matchups. However, in one chapter, chapter 80, Apollo has changed everything and has once again proven to us that Record of Ragnarok is forever goated. It began with all the hype being placed towards Leonidas, however now, Apollo has rose. Time to explain everything. First up, his divine weapon, what is it? The official name is the Threads of Artemis, something created by Apollo himself, and it has quite a decently strong ability. For example, the legend associated with this divine weapon is that it can transform into a radiant harp, which is actually a transformation we get to see throughout the chapter on screen now that I'll talk about later. It can become a impenetrable shield, which we get to see in this chapter and explain context what happened in the previous chapter, which is interesting as well. However, the word impenetrable doesn't really apply here, as I'll talk about shortly. At times, it can become a beam of light that can pierce straight through the colossal rocks, of course the art here being Apollo using his bow and arrow. Then in the chapter itself, we see it transform into these gloves, which Apollo proceeds to use as boxing gloves to beat up Leonidas. This means his divine weapon can very well transform into multiple things. As such, we may actually finally get to see that bow and arrow in action during this fight at some point. Also considering Leonidas's volume, that having the ability to transform into multiple things outside of just this is very likely, so the divine weapon battle throughout this fight is going to be quite intense. However, more stuff regarding Apollo's divine weapon. We had Goal say on the side, it seems weak, which with this line being dropped, it means it's going to be the exact opposite, and I could imagine Apollo's divine weapon being one of the strongest. And we even had Brunhilde kinda already implying this, as she explains more about it to Goal, as she pretty much does throughout the whole series. It's either Hermes explaining the divine weapon, the narrator, or Brunhilde. We have her explain how Apollo was able to tank this devastating attack from Leonidas in the previous chapter, allowing us to see how the defending or shield version of these Threads of Artemis actually work. Look at this panel closely here. You see the strings actually wrapping around Leonidas' weapon to defend Apollo, and it seems like these can be used in a wide range of situations. Then Brunhilde just outright says this: the Threads of Artemis can be both a weapon and a shield. Truly a versatile divine weapon of the highest quality, which if you haven't came to the conclusion already, Apollo's weapon is one of the best we've seen in the series so far. And I'm expecting a lot of insanity from it itself, which already begins with the string turning into these gloves that Apollo actually wields and proceeds to completely dominate Leonidas, with it being important to note that Apollo isn't just someone with one of the strongest divine weapons to pretty much carry him in the fight. His physical skill and ability is also top tier. This was even set up by Zeus himself right in his introduction to the series with this panel here. Just the character or god many consider to be the strongest in the series after 80 chapters, giving this level of praise to, of course, his son in, Greek mythology. Pretty wild stuff. However, regarding Apollo's ability and what he demonstrated during this chapter, he pretty much did the following. Began throwing hands using boxing skill, and if you don't know, Apollo is regarded as the following: a mad lad who hit subscribe to the Mysterious Weeb YouTube channel, and also the god of boxing, something that a lot of us martial arts manga fans have been waiting for in Record of Ragnarok. It's finally here, and it's honestly quite peak. We see Apollo dodging all of Leonidas' crazy attacks, dropping to the side and landing this very clean blow, with it looking like the authors are going to go into some detail explaining what Apollo actually does when it comes to boxing. For example, claiming that this is a form of outboxing as he surrounds Leonidas and takes him out from pretty much the outside rather than going in. And then with what he sets up in the next chapter, we're probably going to see him getting nice and close, which is going to be fire as well. Alright, now we have 2 ticks for Apollo, a very good divine weapon, top tier skill, leaving us with the question, does he have the strategy and tactics to combine this and actually win the fight? It seems like he may actually have that. Right away, he realized Leonidas, when it comes to all out straight on power, is most likely the superior one thanks to his volume and of course who Leonidas actually is. Using this boxing fighting method, not just because he's the god of boxing, because it's the best means to actually take out Leonidas currently, as even his Threads of Artemis in its more so defensive mode couldn't completely block the damage from Leonidas' attack. I talked about this in my spoiler video, how it seemed like Apollo didn't take any damage, which made me question why he was actually coughing up blood. It's confirmed here by Zeus that this did actually damage Apollo. As such, he realized straight away that trying to block these attacks isn't the best move, and that he wields the speed and ability to actually dodge all of these attacks, doing it very well and quite stylish, so much that all the Spartans and people watching are kind of raging, viewing Apollo as someone who's actually scared of Leonidas. Then at the end of the chapter here, he's about to prove everyone wrong. He uses his threads once again to make this kinda fire-like wall, limiting the arena they can fight in just to this long stretch here, meaning he can no longer use his outboxing. He's gonna go straight for Leonidas and try and prove that when it comes to raw power, that he's actually the superior one over Leonidas, as he is the god of the sun, the great lord Apollo. Leaving us with this big question, is he going to overpower Leonidas in this scene? Let me know of course what you think is going to happen down below. There's a few possibilities. We could have Leonidas, who's actually raging quite a bit as well now, have his weapon transform into something even more destructive. We could have Apollo actually transform into his bow and power up that some type of attack, and we could get a clash between the two. And if Apollo was actually able to overpower Leonidas with this clash, I could imagine the King of Sparta's stocks going down the hill drastically after that. So I'm personally hoping that doesn't occur. I could imagine him charging straight ahead, Leonidas does his ranged attack, he like dodges it somehow, maybe jumping over or like slipping under, and then lands a crazy uppercut. That would be pretty wild, and that leads into Leonidas transforming his weapon, and potentially Apollo doing the same to continue to counter him in the future of the fight. We'll have to wait and see. I still would prefer this round 9 to end in a draw. However, Apollo winning would be better for the future of the story, with my thinking personally. But of course, let me know down below what you think is going to happen once again. Shout out to these mad lads who support the channel via the Patreon. Check out the other stuff in the description. Apologies for no camera in today's video. Currently moving, don't have everything currently set up.